and your CE, your cooperating educator, open to that and able to answer the questions without taking offense. That's heavy. That's heavy. Every class is different. If you're an art teacher, then your environment is going to be different. Your culture of learning is going to be different because it's going to depend heavily upon materials and apparatus, science as well. But English is going to be a little different. So, depending upon your subject, you will answer number 2 specifically. Number 3, describe 2 key procedures, routines, or transitions that an effective teacher in your content area uses to maximize instructional time. Okay, so what things are your cooperating educators doing that are moving the curriculum forward? Procedures, routines, transitions, meaning what practices does your CE have in place that students can depend on and that creates a culture of learning in the class? What might be the consequences for failing to establish such processes? In other words, if your teacher, cooperating educator, did not follow through with these routines every day, what would happen? What would be the consequences of not having those procedures? And be specific. What kinds of procedures? Every teacher is different. Every situation is different. What procedures are crucial to your classroom situation that you have adopted, in order to be congruent with what the teacher is doing? 2 key procedures. Just describe them. I'm not going to have a fit if you present the answers to these questions numbered. That's fine. On number 3, where it says 2 key procedures, you can present them as A and B. That's fine. All right. Number 4, identify and describe 2 key methods that an effective teacher uses to organize the learning space. That speaks to the learning environment that we talked about earlier in the semester. I'm sorry about this, pop-ups. Earlier in the semester, the learning environment. What 2 key methods have helped in making the space an optimal learning space? For example, if you're in a biology lab or some kind of science lab, you're probably in a room with tables that are connected to an electrical source. You might have computers at each table in your classroom. How does the room serve the students as a learning space, the technology necessary for learning, and the community of the classroom for discussion? How is the room set up so that everybody gets to play their role, teaching, learning? Number 5, identify and describe 2 examples of how an effective teacher motivates students by linking learning experiences to A, students' prior knowledge and skills, and B, to students' personal, cultural, linguistic, and community assets. Make sure you give an example of each. Okay, here's the thing. 2 examples of how an effective teacher motivates students by linking the information to students' prior knowledge. When you took educational psychology or even general psychology, you learned about how assimilation, Piaget's assimilation, plays a large role in learning. This means that when your students come to you, they are coming to you with information that they've gotten from previous classes. And so your job as a teacher is to capitalize on what students already know and build onto that. so that you're enhancing their knowledge. Okay, you're building on their prior knowledge. They're assimilating the information that you're giving them into what they already know. So the assignment calls for 2 examples of that, and you can get that from your lesson plans. You've all taught by now, hopefully more than once, and I'm sure you have quite a list of things that you can use as examples for that one. And B, to students' personal, cultural, linguistic, and community assets. All right, here's what that means. For letter B, students have a right to know the ways in which the information that you're teaching will help them as adults going forward into the future. They have a right to know how your curriculum, how your lesson is going to help them in quote unquote real life. The life that they're living right now is real, just as real for them as yours is to you. So let's say they want to know why are we learning algebra? I'm never going to use this again. You need to, for each and everything you present in class, you need to be able to link it to something that is still existing in the world today if you're a U.S. history teacher, or some skill that you have that people just take for granted each day. We use algebra every day, but we don't call it that. We call it event planning, or we call it organizational management. All that is algebra. Think about that for a second. 2 examples of the ways in which your curriculum speaks directly to the culture and linguistic characteristics of your students. Give an example of each, it says. And how do these approaches motivate learners? Students are motivated by things that they will benefit from personally. So how does how do your lessons keep your students motivated? And if they don't, then say that and back up your reasons with literature. Number 6. Describe 2 approaches that an effective teacher can implement to create a challenging and motivational learning environment whereby learners are provided with opportunities for self-directed learning. Okay, so in what ways do you how do you teach out of the box? 2 approaches that an effective teacher can implement to create a challenging and motivational learning environment. A challenging, sometimes one of the reasons why I assigned that debate format is because I love an in-class debate. I think we get a lot from it. If we were a face-to-face class, I would have divided the class in half. I would have assessed what your thoughts are about a certain subject, and then I would have asked you to debate the opposite of your opinion. Do the research and debate the opposite of whatever your established opinion is. The only way you're going to learn something is to look at it from all angles. Education can do that. That is a challenging and motivating learning experience. Teachers who challenge students to take the curriculum and create acting exercises, a skit, or something presentable, like a movie, or anything. Writing songs about the material, creating an art piece about the material. These are things that challenge and motivate students. So describe 2 approaches that either your CE or you have used to do that. That's number 6. 7. Describe 2 effective ways that technologies can be used in the classroom to expand learner experiences. How do these ways support students and their learning? Okay, so here's the thing. People use the word technology with Elon, but what they mean is the websites, software, devices, for example, your phone, the iPad, internet web quests. So you have a lot of leeway with this one. 2 effective ways that you've used technology to support whatever it is that you're teaching. And you can push the boat out on this one. Really, if you're using something that's really outstanding, really interesting and different, by all means, talk about that. 2 things. Effective ways that technology can be used. Just as an aside, I strongly advocate the use of cell phones in the classroom, and I know that the public schools don't allow that, except if they're being used for teaching, but they can be used for teaching, because the way I see it, they're going to have them in their lap under the desk anyway. So why not? The cell phone is a computer. Why not have your students look things up and do fact checks? Every now and then throw out something and ask the student who happens to be not paying attention, to take their phone out and Google it or something. But use whatever for the answer of this question. Use whatever technologies that you deal with each and every day in your classroom.